Primary mode, approach and landing. When the primary mode is used for an approach and landing, flight director guidance and navigation raw data are displayed. Once on the ground localizer scale and index are again displayed if nav receiver number 1 remains tuned to ILS frequency to enhance visual centerline tracking. The HGS A3 mode is designed for precision, manual ILS approach, and landing operations to A3 minimums. Additionally, the A3 mode can be used for Category 2 approaches at Type 1 airfields if operational authorization has been obtained. A3 mode overview. With respect to the primary mode, the A3 display has been decluttered to maximize visibility by removing the altitude and airspeed tape displays and replacing them with digital values. The HSI is also removed with ILS raw data localizer and glide slope deviation now being displayed in proximity to the flight path group around the center of the display. In the A3 mode, guidance information is shown as a circular cube whose position is calculated by the HGS. A3 approach. Tracking the HGS guidance cube and subsequently the ILS is achieved by centering and maintaining the flight path symbol over the cube. Monitoring localizer and glide slope raw data relative to their null positions helps to minimize deviations and to anticipate corrections. Airspeed control is accomplished by nulling the speed error tape using the flight path acceleration carets to lead the airspeed correction. Any deviation in the ILS tracking or airspeed error are easily identified by these symbolic relationships. The A3 annunciation displayed in the upper left corner is both an indication of the selected mode and the HGS capability of providing guidance. As long as all required parameters and conditions are valid for a Cat 3A approach, the A3 status annunciation will be displayed. Flare initiation is indicated by the flare command on the combiner display and the flare annunciation on the PFD. The flare maneuver is designed to transition the aircraft from the approach attitude to the touchdown attitude while maintaining positioning and performance requirements to meet touchdown criteria for Cat 3A landings. This includes continuing to track the runway localizer and establishing an acceptable touchdown sync rate while refraining from long landings. In order to reduce the longitudinal touchdown distance, an idle command is displayed on the combiner and the first officer's PFD, alerting the crew to reduce thrust to idle. Following touchdown, the display changes to remove unnecessary symbology to assist with the landing rollout. This includes changing the localizer symbol to the ground localizer scale and index. The center line is tracked while the aircraft is decelerated to exit the runway. A display of runway length remaining is also provided to supplement deceleration cues. A3 mode requirements. Prior to an ILS capture, the ability of the HGS to calculate and display A3 approach guidance is indicated when A3 is displayed on the right half of the HCP standby display line. This display indicates that the HGS and related sensors are operating normally and in the correct mode, and the flight deck configuration is configured for the approach. The system conditions that must be met in order to achieve A3 capability include: IRS number 1 must be in the nav mode, and AHRS number 2 must be in the full performance mode. All reversion selections, ADC, AHRS, ILS, SG must be in normal position. All nav receivers must be tuned to ILS frequency. Basic attitude, pitch, roll, heading, data from dual sources must agree within defined limits. All sensors input data must be valid, and no HGS built-in test faults must be present. A3 becomes available for selection as the active mode when the above conditions are satisfied and the approach on course logic is met. Approach on course is dependent on the following criteria. Flight Director lateral capture mode indicates lock and FV vertical capture mode indicates GS. Localizer and glide slope deviation values are valid and within defined limits for a period of 5 seconds. The localizer deviation limit is 0.33 degrees and the glide slope deviation limit is 0.42 degrees. The difference between RS magnetic track and the selected course number 1 is less than 15 degrees. Radio altitude is greater than 500 feet. When the AOC logic is satisfied and all required systems are operating properly, the HGS will automatically enunciate on the combiner and HCP that the A3 mode is available for selection. This is indicated by A3 flashing on the combiner and in the upper left portion of the display, and an A3 displayed on the left half of the HCP standby line. At this point, the pilot has the following options. Immediately select the A3 mode by pressing the mode key. Delay the A3 mode selection, but select it prior to passing through 500 feet above TDZE. If not selected prior to 500 feet, the A3 on the HCP and the flashing A3 on the combiner are eliminated and the A3 mode becomes unavailable. Select another mode by changing the standby mode on the HCP and selecting the mode key. Automatic selection of A3 mode. Prior to AOC, if A3 mode requirements are valid, an A3 is displayed on the right portion of the HCP standby display line. This is the indication that the HGS is A3 capable, but the AOC conditions are not met. To arm an automatic selection of A3 mode, press the HCP standby key. After this selection, A3 arm will be displayed on the HCP standby line, and A3 arm will be displayed on the HGS combiner. When AOC logic is satisfied, A3 on the combiner display flashes for 5 seconds, followed by an automatic transition to the A3 mode. At any time prior to AOC, the automatic transition to A3 can be disarmed by selecting a different standby mode. This will cause the A3 indication to move back to the right side of the standby line. Assuming no further selections, the sequence would then follow the manual mode sequence. Approach monitoring is active only when below 500 feet and when the HGS is providing A3 approach guidance. If either a loss of the A3 status occurs or the system monitor detects an out-of-tolerance approach condition when below 500 feet, an approach warning is enunciated to both crew members. Approach monitoring is functionally divided into a tracking monitor and a flare monitor. The tracking monitor evaluates the state of the approach relative to airspeed error, localizer deviation, glide slope deviation, cross-track rate. The flare monitor evaluates aircraft sink rate, lateral displacement from the center line of the runway, pitch rate, airspeed error, cross-track rate, late flare initiation, flare guidance tracking, roll angle, touchdown distance from the threshold, long landing. Once A3 mode is active, any sensor or equipment condition that results in a loss of A3 capability causes a boxed no A3 status to be displayed on the combiner, flashing for 5 seconds. And on the HCP mode line, an amber A3 is displayed on the first officer's PFD. If either the A3 capability is lost, no A3 status, or the aircraft approach or flare performance does not ensure a safe touchdown within the required touchdown zone, the HDS provide an approach warning annunciation on the combiner and a red approach warning on the first officer's PFD. An approach out of tolerance condition by itself will result in the approach warning annunciations, but will not cause the loss of the A3 status. In the event of an approach warning indication, the crew will follow approved procedures defined in the operations manual. IMC approach mode. The IMC mode allows FGS flight director approaches to be flown in the same approach display format as the HDS A3 approach mode. Altitude and airspeed data are displayed as digital values, and navigation raw data is displayed in close proximity to the flight path group. For an IMC approach, the display information is the same as in the A3 mode, except for the following. The guidance cue is derived from the FGS and is removed from the display at 90 feet radio altitude, Cat 2, or 150 feet above ground level, Cat 1. Flight director modes are displayed. The IMC mode is enunciated. No approach monitoring or flare guidance is provided by the HDS. However, flare cues are displayed to alert the pilot. VMC approach mode. The VMC mode is intended for visual approach operations. No guidance is displayed in this mode. The VMC mode is intended to enhance the visual approach operation by allowing the pilots to establish and maintain the aircraft on the proper glide path to the runway without reference to a ground-based landing system, ILS, VASI, etc. In a VMC mode approach, flight path is used to control the approach to the runway visually. This is particularly beneficial during nighttime approaches or approaches with poor visual cues. The VMC mode provides approach symbology in the same format as the A3 and IMC modes. However, navigation data is not displayed. Flare and landing in the VMC mode is accomplished using normal visual procedures. Between 55 feet and 10 feet, flare cue symbols consisting of 2 plus signs are displayed above the flight path symbol wings.